Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
You know, a lot of times I tend to try to cover too much. I mean, just every facet of what's happening. The fact that private banks took the country over, took the real economy, then leveraged it thousands of times, bought up the world's infrastructure, and are now leaving us holding the bag, and there's no way to even pay it all off or fix it. All we can do is arrest them, basically, prosecute them for the crimes they've committed. Ron Paul says Bernanke and Greenspan should be arrested. Paulson should be arrested. The audio from the radio interview Thursday's up on Infowars.com. A lot of other economists, Ron Paul is an economist as well as a medical doctor, are saying arrest them. This is criminal, what has been done. I mean, it is just amazing what's been done. And so all we can do is say this debt isn't owed, basically arrest these people, nationalize it, as Webster Tarpley was saying, and then try to have a crash landing. Instead, we're a 747 going straight down, and they've got the engines floored, and they're giggling and smirking as it happens. Now, I want to get into Barack Obama. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. And I want to introduce that before Webster and I get into it. So finish up briefly, Webster, because I'm going to spend the rest of the hour on this, on Obama. Finish up with the economic outlook, and because we know they're not going to do the right thing. We know the people could try to put pressure on them, but literally, they're going to use the police state to do the criminal thing. That's what the police state is there for, is to guard them in their crimes. So I guess my last question on the economics is, you left off of nationalizing the Federal Reserve. People are like, well, it is national. No, it's private, folks, like Federal Express or, Federal Plumbing. But instead, let's talk about what they're really going to do. I mean, we know what they should do, and I agree with you. But instead, they're not going to do that.
Well, I think it's important for a mass movement to emerge around this. In other words, we could have a party realignment if some prominent politician would come forward and say no to the bailout. Look, for a couple of days, it looked like McCain might even do that, but he's gone in the other direction. McCain has probably thrown away the presidency and just about guaranteed the victory of Obama by this foolish decision he made to go into that debate on Friday night and not attack Obama on this issue of the $700 billion. So that's unfortunate for McCain. That leaves the rest of us in an even worse position, right? You can't have country first when it's really Wall Street.
Okay, but I want your analysis. I really, want to know your take on where this is going.
Well, the main thing is that we have to seize the initiative. The mass movement, the popular mobilization, has got to seize the initiative around things like wipe out derivatives.
But it's football season, man. So what if the future's gone? There's some thumb sucking to do.
Stop all foreclosures and nationalize the Federal Reserve. You have a situation now where the Federal Reserve lends money to J.P. Morgan Chase at 2%. J.P. Morgan Chase turns and lends that back to the Treasury at 4.5 or 5%. So they're getting 3%, and it's often been more, for doing absolutely nothing. We need to basically end that kind of a situation by asserting government control over
and
the
then we could
Reserve.
remonetize it and actually have the money be worth more. I agree. In fact, I was just looking at C-SPAN right now. They got a McClatchy newspaper guy up there, Kevin Hall, and on screen they show the New York Times with a front page, I believe, of the business section saying Wall Street, rest in peace. So, they're now admitting there's no way to turn this around.
Well, what's going to happen now, I would say, is with the $700 billion and these other subsidiary bailouts that you've got, and the British government is buying the derivatives book of this place, Bradford and Bingley, for about $80 billion, 41 billion pounds. With this, they might be able to get into December, maybe even into January. I don't know. There'll be a certain pause for the presidential election. There'll be a pause for Christmas, but I would say right after that, right in the beginning of January at the latest, you're going to get into another unraveling. In other words, another phase of the panic, another wave of panic will emerge, and then they're going to come forward and demand $1 trillion more or $2 trillion more or whatever it is. So the important thing is to build a movement around these ideas.
And let's be clear, they are cannibal, and I agree, as things get worse, I've never seen people as angry as they now are, Webster, about this. People are really seeing through it. 9% support this in major polls. Multiple polls show that same number, but the establishment, both parties are showing us who they are. And so as this gets worse, know who to blame, the international oligarchs the Anglo-American establishment, and then out of that somehow bring them to justice. Now, we're going to go to break in a moment, but I want to first toot your horn here because I have to say something. I really respect you, Webster. I've read many of your books, your unauthorized biography of George Bush Sr., the book on Obama. You've got a new book out on Obama. I haven't had a chance to read that yet, but I remember you almost a year ago when Obama wasn't even a front runner yet, wasn't even one of the top people yet, saying, watch Obama, watch Obama, watch Obama. Now Obama became the nominee. You're saying, watch for fascism, watch for street thugs beating you up for talking bad about him, watch for the police saying you're not allowed to talk bad about Obama. And I remember going, Webster, even on air, I go, you're going too far. They're both puppets. They're both evil. I'm not going to say I support either one of them. They both are bought and paid for by Wall Street. I said, Webster, I don't know where you get this. So we're going to go to break and come back and play a news clip and read what the governor of Missouri said about this. This is really happening now. But first I want to know, how did you know that? I mean, that is like predicting who's going to win the Indy 500 and who's going to win second, third, and fourth place, in 2020. I mean, how did you know this?
Thank you very much. You're making me look a little bit too good. I did not really understand Obama until about the 7th or 8th of January. So in 2007.
Okay, 10 months ago. All I know is that you were saying 3-4 months ago, 5-6 months ago, that exactly what's happening is now happening.
Yeah, say 9 or 10 months ago. But here's the idea. I had lived in Central Europe. I've lived in Italy, lived in Germany, and I've really read a lot about the history of fascism and the early history. Italian fascism, 1919 to 1922. German Nazism in the late 20s up until 1933. The Italian case is a very good one. Mussolini was a leftist.
He was a
revolutionary socialist, and his movement was made up of radical trade unionists, disgruntled war veterans from the special forces, artists, intellectuals, sculptors, and revolutionary socialists who wanted Italy to join World War I. And that's what came together in Milan in 1919. So it's not a group of right-wing businessmen, although, of course, they pay for it. You got to understand, fascism is not a top-down phenomenon. It's a gutter phenomenon. It's a grassroots, anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian movement. It's got to have left cover, anti-establishment cover, anti-authoritarian cover. And the genius of fascism is, as long as it's the police state doing it, people are not going to like it. But look, take Palin's emails. If Bush comes and reads your emails under the FISA violations, then the left liberals are going to scream bloody murder. But if a young fascist thug who happens to be the son of a Democratic state rep in Tennessee comes and reads Palin's emails, they think that's great. They think that's a wonderful grassroots anti-authoritarian thing, and that's fascism. The idea is that there's this movement of goons, thugs, gutter snipes, criminals, gangsters, hooligans, and fervently idealistic students. That would be a good summary of what fascist movements look like at the beginning. I'm stressing at the beginning because once fascism takes power, these people more or less get mowed down. Hitler just killed them all a couple of years after.
Because they're the troublemakers.
Yeah, they're going to be uncontrollable.
They're the useful
not
idiots.
Be happy when they get betrayed. There were people in the Nazi movement who wanted a second revolution, and Hitler
was not
going to go for that.
Jens Röhm.
So yeah, exactly, the brown shirt. So, but in the early phase, fascism is radical. A lot of people think it's refreshing. It's new. It's a wonderful thing for many people. And
all right, but I want to specifically understand how you knew, because for those that don't know, the police are saying if you basically talk bad about Obama, they are going to arrest you. You cannot make this up. It's in multiple states. Tarpley was talking about it months ago, saying it was going on, but he couldn't document it in mainstream news. Now it's out there, and I mean, this is off the charts. This is off the charts, what you're about to hear when we get back. Stay with us.